Well, thank you for joining me for another ITY video with top Australian and international executives. On my left, I have Kevin Greely. He's the country manager for Australia and New Zealand at Parallels. And on my right, Jerry Huang. He is the vice president and general manager at Parallels Asia Pacific. Welcome both to the program.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alex.
So I thought I'd ask, doesn't matter who pops in, but just give us the quick overview of what Parallels does today in 2016. And then if you could each just give us a little quick sort of summation of your history in the tech industry.
Sure. So obviously, a lot of people know Parallels because of our very famous product, Parallels Desktop for Mac.
Mm-hmm.
But just so you know, we actually have acquired a company, 2X, who has a very long history in the virtualization, the application publishing. So we have the product Parallels Remote Application Server, which we would talk more about today. So basically, that's where we are. We are certainly moving faster and bigger into the commercial business, and so that's what we are focusing on in 2016.
Sure, and as you said, Parallels is a lot more than just the desktop for Mac. I mean, you have Access, you have a range of other things which you can see at parallels.com. But then maybe we'll switch to you for a sec, Kevin. What's a bit of your history in the industry before becoming the country manager?
I've been country manager with Parallels for 5 years, and prior to that, I've been in the industry for 18 years selling software in Australia and New Zealand, working in distribution with retail and with vendor side as well.
Sure, and Jerry?
So I have more enterprise experience, and I guess that's probably why I'm here today. But also I have been with Apple, with Compaq, HP through the merger, and so I.
A rich history in the industry.
In the industry, in the IT industry, in the enterprise IT and enterprise mobility. So very excited to move to my new chapter in this virtualization world.
Sure. And what are some of the highlights of how the Parallels business is going in, first of all, Australia, Kevin, and then in the region, Jerry?
So interestingly, with our Parallels desktop product, we're very linked to people using Mac. So the Windows on Mac side of things with Parallels Desktop is always very stable.
Sure, and Mac sales have been growing, whereas the PC industry has been declining.
That's right.
And in fact, Parallels is helping not only Mac sales grow, but the PC sales grow too.
That's right. So we win on everything. So we're friends with all men. We're friends with Apple. We're friends with Microsoft, and we help people solve that problem. One of the biggest growth areas we see though is in cross-platform and blurring the lines between using operating systems, and that's where our exciting news in the last 18 months has been our acquisition of 2X, and particularly our remote application server product, which has just a massive growth potential.
Sure. And which we'll go into in more detail in a moment, yeah. And Jerry?
So from the regional perspective, in fact, we had a very good year in 2015, and I certainly is under a little bit of pressure to keep that momentum in 2016.
Sure.
But overall, this company is really growing in the commercial area, and that's again the focus for this year.
Sure. Now we're going to get to the remote application server in a moment, but Parallels Access is also an important part of the Parallels business, and that leads us to the sort of trends in enterprise mobility in Australia and the rest of the region. What are you guys seeing?
Well, we're seeing Australia is really leading the region in terms of mobility and adoption of mobility, and with our new Parallels Access, a new version, we've added support for the iPad Pro, which has really been especially for your, I guess, people who are quite graphic intensive and creative, and we've allowed them to access their full desktop. So if they're using Photoshop in the office, they can go home to wherever they are and access that actual Photoshop from their iPad Pro, or any applications that they need to do from that, and work seamlessly with that using all the gestures and all the native experience that they expect from the iPad. So we bring a great, beautiful desktop experience to all of these devices, including Android.
It's the desktop experience that you don't have natively yet, so it's actually the best of both worlds.
Well, that's right, and that's always been our catch cry has been best of both worlds with Parallels Access and with desktop and all cross-platform.
And anything in the enterprise mobility trends from Asia that stands out, Jerry?
Right. In fact, I have traveled too much in the last 2 months,
Yeah.
and I have met a lot of customers and partners. And interestingly, a lot of them told me they love Parallel Access because they can, do exactly what Kevin said just now. But the next question was very interesting. But how can I, it's only accessing my personal Mac in the
Sure.
office or at home. But how can I access more,
Sure.
the company applications and so on?
Yeah.
So, very interestingly, I see that beautifully or nicely bring us to the remote application server
Well,
discussion.
I was going to say it's a beautiful segue, and clearly people want more than what Parallels Access is delivering. And so, without further ado, you are launching the Parallels Remote Application Server, and you're building it as an all-in-one solution for virtual application and desktop delivery to any kind of device and operating system. So tell us all about it.
Right, certainly. So remote application server, look at the name. It means how can I provide the application access to all your devices remotely. That's right. That's the name, right? So the reality is, if you look at, used to be the IT departments have 100% control of the IT environment. So Windows Server at the back end, and then Windows PC in the front end. It's so simple, it's so consistent. They don't need to worry about the changes or the upgrades of operating system and so on for so many years. In fact, if you look at China, for example, I think the number is still 10-20% of the companies are still running Windows XP.
Yeah.
It's unimaginable.
Probably Tomato XP, the
Exactly.
pirate version that's
Right.
famous in China.
But then, if you look at today, a lot of the companies, they have not just their executives, but a lot of their front-end sales team, the service team, they all have either iPad or Android tablets, and then they have a lot of the people in the development department with Mac and so on. So meaning for the IT department, they
It's a
now
very
have to
diverse range of devices.
very diverse range of
Yeah.
devices,
And-
operating system, and it upgrades every year and so on.
Yeah.
So how do they cope with that kind of changes? How can they still maintain control of all the IT environment, including the support, the maintenance, the upgrades, and so on? It's so difficult. Remote application server is actually here to help them have control of their own destiny.
Sure. And so does it simply serve up access to individual applications without the rest of the operating system needing to be delivered virtually? I mean, what's the and I mean, presumably also, there are applications which are running on the server which aren't necessarily on your end user machine because of licensing issues or whatever. So I mean,
Yeah.
what are some of the details there?
Look, it does both. So the Remote Application Server actually, it covers all range. It can publish out applications. So if you have infrastructure, existing infrastructure in virtualized environments like Hyper-V or Citrix or VMware, you can use Parallels Remote Application Server in the middle to push it out to any device. So if you have legacy applications, and some of our customers are software vendors, and they have applications that their customers actually want to access, but their customers are frustrated that they haven't built a cloud application yet. So what they can do is, in the meantime, while they're building the cloud application, or maybe they never get around to it, they can push it out on Windows 7, or they can push it out just as an app from virtualized environments to the end user very simply and very quickly.
And is that the key difference? Because I mean, are those other systems providing virtual, VDI, virtualized desktops? I mean, what else is the key differentiator from the things that you mentioned that people are already using? The
Cost
VMware.
and complexity are
Yep.
the two big things. So the complexity in these projects, from first of all pushing out an application or pushing out a desktop, you might have consultants involved. You've got a project manager. You've got IT admins that need to be trained on the licensing of these products, not just how to implement them. They've got to know about which versions to get. Do they get the gold, the silver, the platinum? Does that include load balancing? Do we have a HTML5 client included, or do we have to spend on that as well? For example, with one of our competitors, to buy the load balancing component is an extra $10,000 to $12,000.
Yeah.
So it's included in our solution. We have wizards to help them. They have a farm. They can see their virtualized environments, all their their Hyper-V, their Citrix, their VMware, and we have the remote servers. They can just push it out then to any app using our wizards, and it's all load balanced and it works on any device. And that's really the key differentiators there. Then when you take away that is, okay, how much does it cost? And that's where we'll get to later on about pricing and everything. But really, it's half to one third of the cost of these existing environments, and very, very quick to implement.
And these are all very important to the IT guys.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
from the end user point of view, a lot of users complain about the virtualization because the user experience on, say for example, on your iPhone, right, is not very good.
Yeah.
And that's the other part that we believe we are very strong, because for those users who are using parallel access, that's going to be the user experience you are getting, because we are integrating parallel access as the client for our remote application server. So
Yeah.
imagine the user experience that you can enjoy, even though it's a virtualized application
Sure.
or desktop.
Look, I've said in the past that the Parallels Access interface is the one that Microsoft should have used for Windows 8 at the time. I mean, I'm still surprised that Microsoft hasn't tried to license it from you or buy you or something like that, because and they pushed ahead with Windows 10. And Windows 10 is good, but just the way that you have the little all the little small things you do to enable a touch environment to be accurate. And it's in Access, and you don't get it anywhere else. So to know that that's the interface that people are using, well, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
What server operating system does the Parallels remote application server run on? Is it its own server software or hardware? Does it run on Windows? Is it Mac and Linux as well? What's the...
So the console runs on Windows, so
Yep.
Windows 2012 R2 and back in 2008.
Mhm.
So it runs on many of the environments going back. Our version 15 runs on all the latest Windows operating system.
Sure. I mean, and Windows is still the business environment of choice, so that makes
Yes.
the most sense. Yeah. And look, you alluded to it before. What sort of costs are businesses looking at? You mentioned it's a lot cheaper, but is there a typical business you can a small business or some sort of business you can use as an example?
Well, so look, we have probably the most interesting one we've had recently was a company that has put the environment up using in AWS and virtualized, and literally they came to us 1 week and they got the quotes on the product, and they bought 80 concurrent users, and they took it out. We didn't hear from them. Usually we have an engineer follow up with them. They didn't return. They just came back just a week later. We've deployed it, 80 people. It's unbelievable. 80 concurrent users, to a construction company that needed to access their apps remotely from any device, and a lot of them using iPads, Android, and even iPhones. So
And they use it because it's longer battery life. It's it's much less chance of being damaged than some of the larger laptops and things. And
well, that's right. I don't know about your iPhone battery life. Mine hasn't been great so far. But yeah, look, with a lot of it doesn't work on a Nokia 5110, unfortunately.
Sure.
Which had about a week battery life.
Yeah.
But
I mean, my iPhone 6 battery life, it's a bit low. 6S, but the 6S Plus, it's
yeah, look, it depends what
fantastic.
we're using.
Depends, yeah.
But that's one thing about it, just really having the apps accessible to these people, and we've had glowing reviews from and glowing endorsements from these customers on that basis.
Any other customers you want to mention, or industries? We've got construction.
Yeah, so construction is one. We're very healthcare is a very big one for us, particularly because of the security aspects and the necessity to have absolutely seamless security. So we do have, around the world, it's just a massive vertical for us, because you've got the issues around privacy, and nurses and doctors and people in healthcare do need to access client information all the time. And so we've had great success with that on the basis of the simplicity and ease of the migration from other, and some people are coming from legacy like XP environments, or even before that.
And you're still able to virtualize those applications?
But we can virtualize all of those.
Yeah.
We tend to
offer them through Parallels Access.
absolutely, and there's sometimes stepping stones they'll take. They might straight away virtualize that in existing environments,
Sure.
and use it to very simply migrate to others. But the point is that a lot of these people take the opportunity then to modernize everything,
Yeah.
and to push that, because
Makes sense.
you're running Windows 3.1 or XP on an iPhone, and it doesn't really bode too well. But really, it is about the app publishing in the end for those clients. They're not usually using it for VDI desktop publishing. It's about specific apps and specific access from specific people.
Yeah, yes. And I mean, when you have vertically integrated users, they want specific apps. I mean, otherwise they'd just be using a browser-based something or other.
Yeah, that's right. It's not
laptop.
just Microsoft Office. It's all types of legacy applications. We don't know the names of some. There's
In-house.
Well, construction, health. I mean, whatever it is, they all have these various legacy apps that they haven't upgraded yet to be some sort of an app.
Mm-hmm.
And
But one thing I'd add is, particularly, it works very well with a lot of the graphic intense apps as well. You do need to provide better resources at the server end, but we work on that with the load balancing. So things like AutoCAD, Photoshop, those type of applications, because we have remote FX integration with the version 15 as well.
In fact, I was just back from Shanghai last week and talked to a university in Shanghai, and so they have need to provide access to those computing intensive applications like SAS, SPSS to their students. It's too expensive for students to own themselves, so they provide access to their students, and the best way to provide that is actually through this virtualization, app publishing. So we talk to them, and they like everything we talk about remote application server. It's 100% meet their needs. So interestingly, education I think would also be a huge market potential for remote application server.
Sure. And just a question that's popped into my head. I know we're talking today, but are you guys going to be doing any sort of road shows in the region, or running sort of online webinars to get people to see this in action, and for those companies to sort of ask questions en masse?
So we're at EduTech next week.
Yeah.
In Brisbane. So if this gets out, goes to your people,
sure,
they can come and see us at EduTech.
And are you doing anything in the region with more sort of webinars, or I know there's lots of shows in Singapore all the time.
Quite a few, but I'm looking at my marketing director because I couldn't
remember them all yet. But you've got them, that's fine. I mean, people can look at the Parallels website.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
People can look at the Parallels website, and they can contact their...
Look, another thing is if they go to our website, we do have our certification training for people with that are interested in Parallels Remote Application Server, and that's on the 8th of June. We run them on the first Wednesday of every month, and that's for end users or also for resellers, systems integrators who are interested in learning more. It goes for about 5 hours, but we provide some breaks, and it's an entertaining session and very informative.
Sure. Well, you hit the ground running that way.
And it's free.
Yeah. Hey, there you go.
That's right.
So, any news about your distributor relationships in Australia?
Actually, interesting enough, when we bought 2X, they were owned by, they distributed by Connector Systems, who, luckily, as it turns out, I got the news in January that they were being bought by Ingram Micro.
Right.
Now, Connector Systems themselves are a great boutique organization, and they've been kept together within Ingram Micro, but now we have access to a broader market. I mean, reached every reseller, every systems integrator, every VAR, everybody who accesses those type of products. And not only that, we really have great interaction now. We just finished a 5-week roadshow, one day in each state in the major cities.
Yep.
And really, it's been great to see all the market out there and talk to vendors about their experiences with end users and the changes in mobility. But the real benefit to us then from this has been talking to the other vendors,
sure,
and speaking to people like HPE and iGel, and just working out how we can go together to market, especially with the advances in computing, where you've got hyperconvergence really becoming a very powerful concept.
Not just a buzzword.
No, not at all. It was at one stage, but now we're because we're a very key part, and particularly humbly of the cost structure of hyperconvergence. When it comes down to it, they've got their compute power, their storage, but they do need to get this information to the end users, and that's where we come in as that final interface.
And you did have a roadshow, you just finished it.
That's right. If you go back
I should have asked earlier.
Yeah.
That's all right. Look, there's always more roadshows. I mean, as the technology evolves.
Keep an eye on our website. Sign up to our our newsletters.
Sure. Anything you wanted to add, Jerry? To the distribution relationship in Asia?
So obviously we are expanding that because like I said, we are focusing more on the commercial side of the business.
Yeah, I mean, you're always looking for new partners and new other vendors to work with.
Right. So for example, we have just announced our partnership with Innovix in Hong Kong. Mm-hmm. Also a very big Innovix, also a very big regional distributor.
Yep.
So we are expanding that. We are actually recruiting more system integrators and solution partners, particularly for the remote application server business, and so it's happening throughout the region, and I believe worldwide as well.
It's growing, which is good.
And we're working on our renewed partner program as well. So we have a current partner program where all of our resellers get to try out the program, or try out the products, and also provide trials for their end users and do proof of concepts and that. So we are revamping that to provide more more incentive for our resellers to speak to us.
Yeah. Now, as we get closer to the Worldwide Developers Conference from Apple and an inevitable new version of Mac OS, which will usually come in the US summer, which is winter, that also must mean we're getting closer to the launch of Parallels Desktop 12. Now, I'm sure you can't say too much about it.
Well, Alex,
but are there any hints that you might want to share?
We speak about this every year.
Every year, yeah.
And you say that you could set your watch by us releasing a new version, but we can't comment on any timing.
Of course.
With our product, but we can say that, well, I don't know, my mind, you'll probably agree, it's going to be faster, it's going to be better. It will always, as we always have, integrate, if there is a new version, that is, I'm not confirming nor denying.
Sure. Well, one thing I would...
Most important thing for our users to remember is that we would definitely ensure that when there are new Mac operating system, new Windows operating system, we will make sure you don't run into compatibility issues. That's very important.
Sure.
And we guarantee you'll be able to run Windows.
and Linux and
Linux
and other operating and even
Mac
OS. Yeah. And one thing
to 95% of people out there.
Sure. And one operating system that's popped up in recent times is called Remix OS from Jide, and it's basically a desktop version of Android. It's sort of like Android and Windows 10 joined together. And whenever new operating systems come out, of course, Parallels doesn't know about it yet. It takes a little while. I actually haven't looked recently to see if Desktop 11 has it yet, but that would be one that I would suggest would be worth adding in, because it is, Chrome is now going to be able to, the Chromebook OS is going to be able to run Android apps. But if you don't have Chromebook, and if you just want to have a low, simple 32-bit or 64-bit Android version that works like Windows 10, that will be definitely one to add to Parallels.
With new operating systems and Parallels Desktop, I've been led to understand from the development team that we treat it, if we don't support it, we treat that as a bug, and we do work on that.
Excellent.
Now, I'm not sure how I may get shot for saying this, but that I have been told not to say it.
Right. Okay. No, all good. So now, just as we get towards the end of the interview, I always like to ask if you could share the best piece of advice that you've ever received to help you get where you are today. And I'm sorry for some of the noise in the background. I had to open one of the windows to get this beautiful poster here, and we can hear some of that. But that's Sydney. It's construction. That's right. Things are moving ahead like Parallels. Things are growing.
The good with the bad. Jerry,
you want to go first?
Oh, sure. Well. Yeah. Look, I've always been told, and it was from the folks, was try your hardest and always have fun.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the best bit of advice I've ever had, and I don't like to complicate it more
sure.
than that.
That sounds good. Nice and simple. Keep it simple.
Right. So I feel so blessed. Early in my career, I was told to make sure whatever you do, do it with integrity, and so that helps me a lot, and actually helped me to be here today. So.
Excellent. Well,
I'm planning on adding integrity to my thing as well.
Yes.
At some stage, not just.
Excellent. Now, the second last question, I probably should have asked it before, but the future. What might the virtualization industry look like in a decade? What might the Parallels of 2020 or 2026 be offering customers? Will we be running VMs in our brain, Johnny Mnemonic style, if anyone remembers that movie? Back then they were talking about a 320 megabyte drive in his head. These days it'd be a 320 terabyte drive or petabyte drive. But any glimpses into the future?
Not from the dev team, but the way I see virtualization, everything, there's always going to be some kind of underlying operating system. And the future of what we see, it's going to be virtual reality, and it's everything. I believe virtual reality, especially in things like education, manufacturing, nuclear demolition,
the Matrix,
everything is virtual. Maybe we will find out someday. I think it's going to be underlying in that compute power. It seems to our CPU power is our machines aren't getting much quicker, but there's got to be a revolution in that as well. In CPU that they're going to discover, because my 3-year-old MacBook runs better. It seems to have slowed down a little bit, as in the development of that.
Of the gigahertz,
on the usage, but we don't need that much compute power.
No, well, we have
for things like
multi-cores,
VR. So it's going kind of sideways in using the power that we have now. So I think virtual reality is going to be the huge thing. I believe that in terms of cross-platform and the products we have, it's going to look very, very different.
I'll bet you it won't just be virtual reality; it'll be virtualization reality.
Perhaps. I like it. I'm going to get a patent on that really quickly.
That's even better. Well, I have people are already talking about 5G.
Yeah.
So imagine what that means for virtualization, because in quantum computing, when it becomes reality in 2020, with 6G maybe at the time.
Well, 5G should come out in 2020, and by 2026 it should be everywhere.
2026
And by
it will
2026 they'll
6G.
start talking about, we're going to release 6G soon. you know.
Right.
We
And
need
so
the
we
NBN
spend-
though.
Yeah.
So with that computing power at the back end and with the communication technology we are going to have, that I don't know what I can expect, but I would think that I would have a watch and I can do all the computing and the HoloLens would support, enable me to
Sure.
do everything.
I mean, we
on
see
my
we
watch.
see some of those things on the latest Captain America movie, Civil War, where
That's
Tony
right.
Stark has these holograms from his watch and from his computers, and that's a good indicator of the future.
They're all the things
Right.
we're going to take for granted in 5 years.
That's it. So, any final messages from both of you for IT Wire viewers and readers, and for Parallels current and future customers?
Jerry, anything?
So I think again, if we look at what the ITs are facing today, I believe they really need to look into virtualization seriously, because that will help them to gain better control they used to have in the IT environment. And so that will be my last words to those who are interested. Welcome to visit our website, and we are more than happy to talk to them about how they can really improve their application delivery, virtualization, help them to really support the business development, but also have control of their IT environment.
Sure.
Yeah, and just not to be frustrated about big projects. Come and talk to us if it's virtualization, desktop delivery, app delivery. If you've got these things and you want to talk to someone, certainly pick up the phone and call Parallels. We're here. We have engineers on standby, and we're very keen to talk to people who are having these simple issues we can solve. So
Sure. Okay. Well, Kevin and Jerry, thank you very much, and
thanks, Alex.
talk to you
Thanks,
again in the
Alex.
future.
Thank you very much.